Hello, I'm Li Hao and welcome back. We've been writing a client-side routing libraries in Svelte in the past few videos. And if this is the first video you're watching, don't worry. I have attached a link to the whole playlist in the description in the section below. Just click on that and try to watch the previous videos. So we've managed to write a client-side routing library, and now we are focusing on writing the file-based routing. Right, mainly focus on the scripts to generate the route definition based on folder structure. In the last video in particular, we've already nailed down the setting up the scripts. Well, we basically set up the folder structure for our file-based routing, as well as a very basic, like a boilerplate templates for our scripts that we can run and generate and write into a file for us. So now the thing is, how do we walk through the folder structure? How do we explore the files components within the folder structure and generate that routes definition? And that's what we're going to do in this video. Sorry to jump in, but I got an important thing to tell you, which is that if you're following along, coding along with me, the code for all this is on the GitHub repo. Link in the description. Just follow along. If you miss any steps, each changes are in individual commits. So you can just check out that commit and take a look at what you are missing. Now follow along. So here we are at our script right now. We have imported file and path, file system and path. I'm gonna use the two very important file system API to do the heavy lifting for us. So I'm gonna have a function called a explore folders. So the two function is, the first one is the fs.read directory sync. So this one will give us a list of files within the directory. But we can't really simply call this in any file path. It may throw error if the current path that you pass in is not a directory. It's a file, then you will throw an error. So you will have to call stat-sync, basically to get the status of the file path, and then it returns the status, which you can call is directory, to check whether the path that you are looking at, whether it is a directory or it's a file. So basically we're gonna use these two to do all the things for us. The next thing we're gonna figure out is that how I'm gonna store the information, right? So we're gonna create a routes array, and this array we can't really say just do like json.stringify in here. We can't really do that. And that's because that in this file we have, say, regular expressions that I'm not even sure whether it's possible to stringify. We have functions code like that looks like this, that is just not possible to stringify, right? But we can still keep so we're gonna have a routes array that contains all the meta information that we need, and then we use that to generate the content over here in this array, right? So things that we need is probably like, say, the URL, right? The URL pattern, URL, the URL as a string. So this one maybe, maybe not URL. Let's just have like the component path, right? The path to the component. And then, so this one, with this, we probably can figure out the this one, as well as the URL, as well as the params, right? And then let's see, what else do we need? Yeah, the components or layouts as an array. So this will give us a list of component path as well, right? Something like this. So that this, when we have this, we also we'll check whether we'll add additional components in front of the current component because they are the layouts. So rough idea, our routes will look something like this. Let me just comment it out first. Okay, so we are going to see, since like the folder structure is a recursive kind of structure, then I guess we can say call this recursively. So we just keep calling explore folders, and here we're gonna call explore folders again with a child path, and then we also need to figure a way to get the result after we finish exploring. So that would means that whether either we take in a return value from here, or we actually can pass in the routes array, right? And the empty array like this, the routes array like this. Since when we modify this routes array, we use push, which mutates the array itself. We just pass in a reference, right? In this case, since it's an array, so we can mutate it later on within the explore folders. And once all the recursive functions has returned, then after we call this explore folders from, say, maybe from outside, like a path and the routes, then we can read the routes value from here, right? After that. So that's rough idea of the code. So here, of course, we need a file path, routes. Let's see. I think I'm gonna make one more level deep. So here I'm gonna have this explore folders. That is just a file path. And internally I have this explore inner function over here. Explore inner function that does this. And I'm gonna call explore with the file path and the routes. I'm gonna return routes. Whoops. Like this. Try to think about it again. I don't even need this. I don't even need a pass in. So since this is an outer score of this function, we're of course able to read it. So we're just gonna do this. And within itself, we just explore a child path. Right. So here we're gonna explore folders, the input folder, and this will return us the routes. Okay, so here and here with routes, then we are gonna say routes that for a map for each route. So we're gonna map, and then the routes. As we say, we're gonna use based on whatever it's the component path and the layouts, right? So this is the component path and the layouts, and then return something. So for now, we're gonna return empty string because I have no idea what. Yeah, we will leave this as a to do later on. So here now we are going to explore our file paths. So here in explore, of course, I think we can assume that when we call explore, we are passing a folder path, a folder, right? So here we can immediately read directory with this folder path, and this gives us a list of folder directories, list of content, the file content over here, files. Goes this one. Then files can loop through the files of files. If file, first thing is we get the file path, because the path.join the folder path with the file, right? So this one, it gives us just the file name itself, right? Remember we ran it previously, we have only the file name. So we have to join back with the folder path to get the full file path. after we get the full file path, we have to check whether if is directory equals to fs-stat-sync the stat-sync the file path, and then is directory. If it's is directory, then we need to basically explore this again. Explore the file path. So now this file path, we know that this is actually a folder, right? Else, then this is a file, which means it's potentially a layout, potentially a routes component. Then I'm gonna push this to the routes.push. Just now we say component path is this file path, layouts, something I'm not sure yet, and yep, I think that's it. And then we can just remove all this. Don't need this anymore. Hold on. I think we can remove this with the comments. We don't need this anymore. Here. Okay, so first now we just console out the routes to see how far along we've done. So here let's run this script. Clear npm run generate. And we basically managed to find all the routes, right? We have the source A, res, $B, $C, all this. Yup. So so now next thing is, of course, we have to handle the layout as well. Let's just assume layout is just a normal routes first, and then we do later on the layout. So here I'm gonna add another to-do handle layout. Okay, how about let's just add it to the top here, to-do handle layouts. And I think we have another to-do just now. Generates route definition. Yeah, I think at this point with the component path, we can actually handle it, do this routes definition now, right? And actually in the meantime, I'm thinking about this is the root directory of the root path routes directory, right? The dollar folder is the roots of everything. So the reason I want to rename this so that we are clear that this is the root, and we have the full path is here, and the relative path can actually also have a relative path. So path.relative from this root to the file path, right? So if you try to run again, we zoom this up a bit. Okay, I think it's too big for the code, but let's see, let's clear. Let's run this again. You see that the full path is this, but then this is the relative from this root, from the dollar sign, right? This is the relative, this is the relative, and this is actually exactly what we just need to generate the routes definition. So here, let's go and generate our routes definition. Here, okay, so now we have our component path and the relative path, right? So relative path is actually what we need to generate the routes. So let's try to see. Let's try to how do we do this? I think this is quite simple, right? Without brackets, this is quite simple. We can just remove the .svelte. So it's a relative path dot remove dot replace the dot svelte, the ending dot svelte with empty string. Hey, what happened with the coloring? Okay. We can, this will give us the component. Okay, I think we need to split by the slash to get different route segments. So this is the, I'm gonna call it segments. Go to component dot splits by the slash segments. And yeah, I can show you what we have over here so far. Right, so this is the segments: A, res, B, C, index, item shop, this. So next is we need to see if it contains. Okay, let's ignore the parameters as well. So this B, C, all this, we're gonna just convert it to a regular expressions immediately. So this is the reg expression equals to. So how do you write our regular expressions? We will have a slash starting with, and then we have something, and then a dollar with a slash like this. And this one, whoops, and we have this, we always have this at the end. And here is based on what we have in our segments, right? So I think segments, if we have index at the end, we can convert it to just empty string, because it's the path itself. Even if you have C and index, it's actually C. So we can remove that. Let's see how we can if segments dot segments. And I think we should just do it in the last one, right? If you have index in the middle, although it does not make sense, but it's not the, we cannot remove this. This is, I think the path itself will have to contain a word index. So just do the last one. So segments.length minus 1 equals to index, and segments.length minus 1 equals to empty string. I'm gonna, whoops, this one, we need to escape the escape character. Here I'm gonna say, let's see, segments.join with the slash this one. And I'm gonna put it in here. So this will be a template literal. Put it in between here. So we have our regular expressions. So here our code would look like this. I think this we can also make template literal. We have this one. URL equals to the reg expression. And then params, I think for now we just take it empty array. Components, it's an array of imports, and here we actually can have the path, right? This path is this relative path. Yeah, so we can we have the relative, we have the path already, so we just need to figure out what's the actual file value we need to pass in here, right? So here in our generated relative to the dollar, it's actually just like a dollar, like a dollar. So it's a dot slash dollar slash and then the relative path of here, right? because the generated, when you want to import something from here, it's a $/$, a $/$. Right, so we can have that $/$/ and then a relative path. Okay, if you can't imagine this, don't worry. Let's just run this and see how it looks like. Let's run this, and then let's take a look at generated TS. There's a lot of TypeScript complaints, but here we do import the right file. Right here is correct. This is correct as well. Now the regular expressions looks a bit weird, but the rest quite okay. Hold on. The error is complaining it's not assignable to routes array. Here I think we forgot to pass in the target. That's why it's kind of quite complaining. So go back to our templates. Here, I'm going to pass in the targets. Let's run this again. Yep, it looks much better now. So the code also includes this target. Yeah. And let's see. No, so now we need to kind of fix our regular expressions. This comma, it's weird. It's like this. Actually, the reason of the comma is here is because the whole thing is an array, right? We just add array, and then if we try to stringify an array, this is actually convert a string and actually concatenates everything with a comma. So actually, we can have our own comma with a /n, so that comma will create something on the next object on a new line. Right, so here looks slightly cleaner, comma and a new line, and then this is here. Ignoring our formatting, it doesn't really. It's okay. Formatting is not that nice. We can fix it later also, but most importantly is that the code is runnable. Right, so if you're trying to run this code, since our entry file is now pointing to generated, we can actually run npm run dev, and here it's a workable code, right? Except that there's some routes that can't be matched correctly. That's because our regular expression is not that correct yet. So we're gonna fix that right now. So let's see what we're missing. So I think the first thing is that all the path over here, it always starts with a slash, right? So we can add that to our regular expressions over here. Whoops. We have escape the escape character. Right, let's try run this again. Generate. So this looks, B looks more correct now. C, okay. I think this one looks okay as well. The index file looks okay as well. Now, basically we have almost everything correct now. If I just run npm run dev, I can go to B, go to C. I think they are all correct now. So the next thing we need to figure out is extract this, do some handling on this to generate a more correct what's that thing? More correct regular expressions, as well as so that we can also populate the parameters. We can have values correctly in the parameters. So I guess I'm gonna talk about it in the next video. So remember to subscribe to my channel so that you get notified. Turn on the bell as well. You get notified when the next one is ready and you can watch that one. So see ya. Bye bye.